All right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of The Teardown. My name is Jeff Gluck. I'm along with Jordan Bianchi. We're motorsports writers for The Athletic, and today we're talking about early this morning. There's no today here. We're here to talk about the Richmond race where Jordan currently is early Sunday morning. It's well past midnight on the East Coast there. And quickly approaching 1 a.m., I told Corey, one of our ex-followers, he said, will the teardown be live tonight at around 1 a.m.? And I wrote back and was like, oh, no, hopefully not that late. But there was quite a lot to cover after the race there, Jordan. Quite a I don't even know if it was unexpected because it was the same race winners last year. But
he repeated. It's not a story, Jeff. He just repeated. Well, right. Whole hum.
Well, Jordan, in a lot of ways, I think we have the first real upset of the season. I mean, certainly Josh Berry was a surprise when he went out and won Las Vegas the way he did with Wood Brothers. But you looked at how fast the Penske cars were early in the season in general, and you kind of at the time were like, oh, yeah, this kind of makes sense. I think this Austin Dillon thing, despite him winning at Richmond last year, that was obviously a different circumstances. I mean, this is a true playoff spot stealing victory. Somebody that we're 2 races to go in the regular season. Now we have, now this is really shaking things up for the first time, I feel like, all year.
This was the best day for Richard Childress Racing. This is like better than revenge, to have that taken away from them last year. And now they did what they did, but to come here and to win. There's no fluke. There was no lucky break. They went out and won. Austin Dillon drove a fantastic race. He was flawless tonight. The pit crew was flawless tonight. They had speed. They beat Penske. They beat Hendrick. They beat them all. This was a great race. They shaked it off from last year, whatever that was, and they came in and they sent a statement. And it's great theater. It's almost like you would not have, if you would have came in this and said, listen, Austin Dillon is going to do what he did last year and steal a playoff berth. You'd be like, no, like last year was last year. There's no way that's going to happen again. But long story short, they didn't glitch tonight or anything like that. This was a flawless night for them. They're in victory lane.
I mean, to me, this is clearly the best night of Austin Dillon's career.
Easily.
I mean, this was a race in which he went out and, controlled the race, was the fastest car. They made the right strategy calls and all that stuff. Sure. But like, he was very much confident in command. This wasn't like, oh man, he stole the race on the last lap kind of moment at all, and this was, again, as you alluded to, what was going to happen last year. He had a 3-second lead last year, and he was going to win this race in the biggest moment of his career last year. And a caution came out late, and then he did what he did, right? And then all the dark cloud came over that, and he kept the win, but he was stripped of the playoff benefits. And everybody's, his name got associated with intentional wrecking and desperation and all this stuff. And I think it put a black mark on his career in some ways, even though he won that race. Right. And everybody's like, that's, and so now for him to come back a year later and do this, and just kicked everybody's butt, right? Over 100 laps led, just a performance that he needed. And I think the better than revenge thing, it depends how you look at it, right? Because Richard Childress in the press conference still, right? He still has a chip on his shoulder,
sure,
from last year, and doesn't like that NASCAR did this to them. And how you got the quote from him in Indianapolis after the Austin Hill thing, we're a blue collar team and all this stuff. They're always beating up on us kind of thing. Austin Dillon said he moved on, and he accepted it, but he also said that he cried during the process of their appeal last year because this win meant so much to him. He was racing up there with Denny and Joey and ahead of them. And so tonight for him to go out and make this statement, I mean, people can talk about all they want. The rich kid. Oh, he was 28th in points, all this stuff. There was nothing
Nope.
in the slightest bit fluky about this whatsoever. He went in the system that is set up for everybody. You may not like the system that somebody can win their way in. That's fine. Under the rules, you have 26 races to win your way in. Went out and straight up beat everybody with 2 races to go in the last non-super speedway race of the year and got it done. Period. So, it's similar to Bubba Wallace, where he goes out and wins the Brickyard 400, where he has plenty of detractors. And it's just like, dude, what are you going to say now? Like, he got it done. He has 6 career wins, by the way, Austin Dillon. I mean, a guy who everybody wants to dump on all the time. He has 6 career wins.
Yeah. 2 majors, by the way.
And 2 Xfinity Series titles. Like,
1 Xfinity Series title, 1 Truck Series title.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, it's just, this is the kind of statement that I think goes a long way in somebody's career.
Huge. I would wonder if Austin Dillon was being honest with himself. In his wildest dreams, he envisioned coming back to Richmond a year later and winning in the manner he did. I don't think he would. As much as you think you can do it and you want to do it, I don't think that was realistic. I mean, this team has largely been invisible for much of the year. They have come on as of late, and they've ran better, but they haven't been world beaters by any means. But then you look at the numbers. He's led more laps this year, by the way, than Kyle Busch. He's led more laps this year than Chris Buescher and Ross Chastain. And he earned this. He earned it tonight. Say what you will about the playoff format and everything else, and you're gonna shoot arrows at him. It doesn't matter. He won this race. He earned a spot in the playoffs, and everybody's going to be upset, and they're going to be seeing red and angry and all of these things. But at the end of the day, he is a deserving winner, and this is the best win of his career. He said it himself. It's not the Daytona 500. It's not the Coca-Cola 600. This is the best win of his career, and this was – say what you will about Austin Dillon, but man, he has risen to the occasion twice, and he did it last year in this race. Now the finish was the finish, but even before that, as you said, he was going to win that race, and he did it again tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, look, the Richard Boswell, his crew chief. You take away. Yeah. I know Daytona. We saw Daytona coming up, but last year they were flipped. So Darlington was the last race of the regular season. So now 2 years in a row, Richard Boswell in the last non-super speedway race of the regular season has scored an upset win. Last year he did it with Chase Briscoe. So, I mean, that guy, I mean,
he's a mastermind.
Well, I mean, he's saying in the press conference it wasn't him, but he made a huge call tonight when it mattered because he was racing with Blaney, and I saw a video that Matt Weaver posted after the race with Jonathan Hassler, Blaney's crew chief. And Jonathan Hassler said that they would have loved to short pit Dillon there because they really thought that was, going to be an important move as Boswell obviously did. But the way that they were on the outside of that battle for most of it, so they couldn't, he was telling Weaver in this video, they couldn't peel off. And so the moment Dillon cleared Blaney for the lead there, he was immediately coming to pit road. They called him in right away, like as soon as he got that position. And then so at that point, Jonathan Hassler told Weaver, okay, we need to just split the stage here, or split this run. It was the final stage, but they felt like they got beat to short pitting. So then they stayed out 4 laps longer. Obviously by the time they came back out, it was, they had lost a lot of ground. But the other part of that was, as I was on Dillon's in-car camera that part, and they were telling Dillon, I mean, immediately, they're like, dude, do not use up your tires on these first couple laps. The first couple laps are huge when it comes to hurting these tires. Go easy for the first few laps, and then you can start to run. And you could see at the end there, like Blaney's, I think they told Blaney to go hard. And his tires fell off. Even though he had 4-lap fresher tires, his tires fell off way faster. He ended up finishing 8 seconds behind. He caught up to 3.5 seconds at one point. Then he ended up finishing to 8.2 seconds behind. Bowman ends up finishing second. He was coming through, but Dillon really managed his tires very well also. So that's another part of like this, he did the veteran move here in a tire management type race. It wasn't just that he was composed under pressure. He did what he had to do with the tires as well, which is a huge factor.
It was a superstar drive. I mean, it really was. And I think that sequence there when he and Blaney were racing and Blaney was on the outside and Dillon was the inside. First of all, that was a great battle there.
That just really was.
Two drivers on old tires fighting it. Cars are sliding. Like, that's what you want. And we're going to dive into that, I'm sure. And then that move, that pit sequence there when he hit pit road, gets a good stop, gets off cleanly. And Blaney's pit crew, by the way, had been better all night. But on that sequence, the 3-team held serve. And that was the race. And you kept waiting for Blaney to really chop into the lead in a big way. I thought Bowman was going to do that at some point, and then Bowman got hung up. And it just was a great win for this team to give them some closure over what happened a year ago.
Well, it's I know, speaking of shooting arrows at Dillon and wanting to find reasons why this happened. Of course, last year a lot was made of Jeff Jazzy Curtis, who was on the 19 team at Joe Gibbs Racing around this time last year. He made the move suddenly to RCR. Then RCR out of nowhere with Dillon ran well when Jazzy joined the organization. He's obviously still with the organization. So they have they said, Austin Dillon said his setup information that he used in the simulator, he thought that translated well this week. He told the media this week. So everybody's going to say, well, they just had whatever they had last year and they just took the same thing and they put it in. And Richard Boswell said in his press conference afterward, we'd be stupid not to at least start with that. But let's be honest, setups have also changed a lot. This was a different tire as well.
Much different tire.
And so, you can say, well, it probably just did the same thing as last year. Oh, why didn't everybody else? I mean, everybody, nobody else improved. I mean, again, it's just not as easy as everybody wants to poke holes in this stuff when it's somebody they don't like who wins or they don't think is deserving who wins. Sure. In my opinion, from the whole organization, they did what they had to do. They ran a great race. I mean, you see in the comments on social media, people are like, well, this, well, that. I mean, I just don't, they went out and beat everybody. Sorry.
Like, that's it. Like, they did what they needed to do. This is why come September, they're racing for the championship. Say what you will. They beat everybody straight up tonight. Everybody had an opportunity. I am blown away by the performance of this team and them rising to the occasion like this. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised. I mean, Dillon has done this before. I mean, Dillon, at Daytona a couple years ago, won the cutoff race, the last regular season race to find his way in. He won at Texas out of nowhere to win. Like, this is just kind of what he does in a lot of respects. And it's a remarkable story. And it also is kind of symbolic of this organization, Richard Childress Racing, where they get knocked down and they will come out swinging, and they just find a way sometimes. And it's just all you can do is shake your head, because it's almost like a fairy tale of like how this came together tonight. It's some kind of weird fiction story of, listen, a year ago you're going to have all this controversy and you're going to have this win taken away, and then you're going to come back the next year. And you can make a case that it was an even more impressive drive because you had all the factors tonight. This was a wide open race. This felt like a lot of different guys could do it. And a lot of guys, had a lot of woulda, shoulda, coulda nights where they let things get away from them. And yet the 3-team didn't. Austin Dillon didn't make any mistakes. And it's a deserved victory. It really, truly is.
We will talk about all that and the drivers who could have had a chance, the playoff picture now. But before we go any further, we certainly have to talk about, this was a really big night for NASCAR, I think. As we talked about last week, it was just getting to a tipping point where everybody's turning on the car and it just feels like this building sense of rage and dissatisfaction. And I'm not saying that certainly one race is going to make that go away, but it's certainly for this week going to take that focus off that, and have people talking about other stuff. I mean, as you talked about with the side-by-side battle, great stuff, right? Like a great short track race.
It's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. And then with the tires, I mean, again, Goodyear brings this softer option tire, and you go, oh, you see there's a glimmer of hope here, right? Like everybody's been putting this on the car, oh, the car sucks. And it's like, okay, Goodyear, you got to fix it for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Goodyear has shown they're getting closer to really figuring this thing out here. At least on a track with high wear. That's the difference. I mean, not all tracks are able to wear the tires like Richmond is with the old asphalt, but the tire wears out there and makes a huge difference. And the disparity with this car is all the pit strategy, right? Like there was no cautions at all in stage 3. So you ran the last 160 laps green, I think. Yeah, the last 160, I think, 159 to go. And so, you had a long run to finish, and you got people moving through the field the whole time. And, it's just like you didn't know which tire strategy was going to work out. There was even toward the end, it was like, okay, well, yeah, it looks like, oh, could Bowman get up there? And Bowman was even thinking, okay, if guys had raced me a little bit better, maybe I could have gotten through the field faster. He ends up 2.4 seconds back. You still had sort of this, you didn't know what was quite going to play out, what was going to be the right strategy. You had guys trying different things. Priest tried different things throughout the night. Hocevar tried different stuff. Chase Elliott, despite getting in that wreck, was going to be on a good strategy. It looked like, for the end of that one stage. So, tires, is it the answer for the car? I don't know. It's the sole answer, but at the same time, I mean, it's such a huge thing. And you can just really see what a difference it can make. And I think, it's just a great night for NASCAR, not to mention Richmond being a sold out crowd. What the hell? Where did this come from? How Richmond? Nobody's even going to Richmond. Then I know they've taken out seats, but they sell out. Unbelievable. I mean, it's just, NASCAR needed a nice relief night like this, in my opinion.
I'm not the kind of guy that likes to say, I told you so. But I told you so. I have said this car is the car. There's only so many more changes you can do with this. You're not going to wipe it clean. You can't really do anything to it too much more than you have. And even if you add a little bit more horsepower, there's still a question of whether it's going to fix or not. I have been adamant. The solution to better racing with this car, because you're limited in what you can do, is tire wear. Tire wear. Long live tire wear. Don't blame me for being right, because that is the case. Like,
why are you making this like your wow, I told you so moment when doesn't everybody say this?
No, because last
you're
week
acting like you're the one.
No, last week it was like, oh, we can't. You've said to me, you've told it's not on Goodyear. We can't rely on Goodyear to do this. We can't push Goodyear. Like, there's only so much they can do. They showed tonight, like, if you want to fix the short track package, and realistically with what you have at your disposal, instead of building a brand new car from scratch, like, tires are the solution to improving the quality of racing. That is it. It may be unfair to place that on Goodyear's shoulders, but that's the reality of the situation. The number one thing, if the end game is to prove the racing, is to make sure that the tires have wear, and that is what they had tonight. We have seen it before at other places. When there is tire wear, there is good racing, regardless of what kind of track it is. And Richmond, of all places, produced a good race tonight because it has tire wear. And so I just look at this like, this is the template going forward. If you want to make the racing better at these places, you can try to do other things, but how much more to this car can you actually do? After Bristol this year, Jeff, you railed against, they just need to build a brand new car. They need to get rid of this. We heard a lot of conversation about this car the last few weeks about this. I get it. Most people would like a new car, but that's not going to happen. So you need to find viable solutions. And the viable solution is focus on tires. Make them figure out where. And, they just had a Goodyear test a few weeks ago up at New Hampshire, and the drivers were up there. They had a tire that they said wore like the Bristol tire a few years ago, just like massive fall off. They said, now that's too far, but it shows you something you can build off of and say, okay, we can bring that back a little bit. And we go to New Hampshire in a few weeks. You have an opportunity maybe to have a race with tire wear and improve the racing there. So I think this was great. I think this showed that this could work, and it gives hope. Following last week when we were like kind of despondent of like, oh man, the racing isn't good. What can we do here to fix this? This gives you the template going forward.
Yeah. Again, I just don't see why you're like proclaiming this as like some genius win for yourself here or something. Like, I feel like it's fairly common that people feel like the tire is a big factor, but it sounds like you're also doing a total cop out here by saying you're now putting it 100% on Goodyear, and you're not saying NASCAR is responsible at all for the car.
What can they do? What left is there to do to the car? Like, okay, so they're going to add. You talk to
you're absolving NASCAR completely of any responsibility here. It's all on Goodyear.
They're responsible. I mean, the car is their responsibility, right? Like they built the car, they designed the car and everything like that. But if you're going to go forward with this car, which you have to do, what are you going to do? Like, if you're going to add 75 more horsepower, which is what they're talking about, that's not going to do a damn thing. Like, you talk to crew chiefs in the garage, and they're like, dude, like, horsepower is not the answer. Like, you're going to need a lot more horsepower and a lot more this, and this, and you got to take this way, and you got to do this. You got to make all these changes. It's like, oh, man, it's a lot. Like, it's just not realistic to implement all of this other stuff. But it is realistic to sit there and say, Goodyear, build a softer compound tire that wears. And if you can do that, at least it gives us a template to have good, decent racing most weeks, which is not something that we have seen.
Yeah, it just seems very convenient that it's easy for NASCAR to say, well, we didn't get the car right, but hey, you fix it for us. It's all on you.
But it doesn't matter how you got here. The situation is the situation, and it sucks. But if there's a pathway to fixing it, here it is. Because what other solution is there?
I'm not in charge of the car, but maybe you could start designing the next car.
Sure. I mean, that's fine, but that's years away. That's years away. So in the meantime, you still need to figure out the product today. And in the product, the answer to that is tire wear. Because what do we hear about?
Here's the problem.
Hang on one second, real quick. What did we talk about at Iowa and Indianapolis? Tires that didn't fall off. There wasn't much wear. Like, if you would have had this tire at Iowa, we would have had a heck of a lot better race.
Yeah, but we've already been told, though, that they can only go so soft on the current tire. Goodyear is going to have to change all their machinery, supposedly. That's what we've been told, the way that they make the tire, because they bake it in layers, right? They bake these tires in layers, and if they go softer on the rubber that keeps it all together, it will simply fall apart. So this is about as soft as they can go. It happens to work at Richmond because the track surface wears it out, which is great. But other tracks that are more freshly repaved or whatever don't wear as much. You're not going to have the same result. So to put it all on them, it's not. You can't just replicate this so easily. I don't believe.
No, I'm not saying it's easy, but it feels like it's a little bit more of a straighter path, maybe even a shorter path than the other way.
Well, we got a little bit off track here because I was just baffled why you're claiming victory on something that
I've
is
been
like
preaching tire wear for weeks and weeks and weeks, and people are like, "Oh no," and it's the car. Fix the car.
Who is oh no? Who is saying this? This is a straw man argument here. I feel like nobody's disagreeing with you. Anyway, let's talk about Richmond, though. I mentioned the sold out crowd. Is this simply a case of reducing to one race, going back to a Saturday night is the answer here? Like, how'd they pull this off? I mean, this was a legit sold out crowd. I mean, geez.
This race just hits differently on a Saturday night, apparently, and it does that. But we have seen the one race template work other places: Michigan, Pocono, Dover. And you have one race. That's your one time to see NASCAR. and it can't be hey, they're gonna be here later in the year. And no, it's like if you don't go now, you're gonna miss it for the year. And so it works. It really does work. It pushes people to come that are on the fence to come. They may say, hey, I got to go. If I don't go now, I'm not going to see them. And this is the way it should be. This is how it should be. And it's worked over and over again. And I look at this and I talk to somebody like a decision maker tonight, and they're like, man, if we could take a look at the schedule and start pulling off tracks that have 2 races and just make sure they have one date, we would have more of these kind of, sold out, crowds that want to be here and they're excited and that kind of thing. And it's true. There, you look at the schedule and there's some redundancies, but you're kind of locked into what it is. But this worked, and good for Richmond, man, because they needed it in a big way.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, you see this enthusiasm, and every time somebody seems to reduce to one race, whether it's like a Pocono or a Michigan, you're just like, oh, wow, this really has a lot of energy and excitement and enthusiasm. And then you look at what we saw with Kansas, right? And this is the problem, right? Because it's like Kansas is one of the tracks that NASCAR should be racing at twice a year in all theory, because it's an intermediate, puts on a great show. But we went there this spring after, a year after the greatest finish of all time, or the closest finish of all time, and the best race ever in the poll, and all this stuff, and the crowd was terrible. Like, it was just super disappointing. And it's like, oh geez. And then it's like, well, would Kansas benefit going back to one race, or but you're like, dang, I hate to take away races from places, but you look at Martinsville has struggled with attendance. Bristol, one of their races, at least one of them, has struggled with attendance, right? So, you're like, well, I mean, there's a case to be made here. But it's like, I hate pulling these races off the schedule or seeing some of these great tracks go away. But if you're going to get, this kind of atmosphere and get everybody excited, I mean, this going into tonight, like when the broadcast opened, it was like one of those old, like I turned on the pre-race show right when it started. And they opened with this helicopter shot, this sweeping helicopter shot of the parking lots, just jammed with cars. And like, it comes up over the track and you're like, whoa, this feels like it's a big thing. And I get that, the last attendance we knew, the last capacity we knew there was about 50,000. That was in 2018. And they've taken out more seats since then. So we don't know what it is. Maybe it's 40,000. I don't know. But if you're getting 40,000 at Richmond, after you haven't been getting decent crowds, really, I mean, you've just been like, ugh. And again, 40,000 would more than sell out Iowa, right? And we praise Iowa and stuff. So,
North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, absolutely. So, 40,000 at Richmond is good for these modern day standards. So, and then they got a good race. It was a Saturday night, great atmosphere. So it's just like, man, okay, well, I mean, it seems like you're onto something there. I don't see how you. Well, okay, let me ask this, Jordan. If it wasn't reducing it to one date, what could the explanation be? Because it certainly hasn't been that Richmond's had this great racing that you got to go see.
No, I mean, I don't see anything else. Like, I will say Saturday night did help. This is the first Saturday night race here in a little bit of time. Saturday night has been a traditional date for Richmond. So that helps. They did run last night, but that was a Sunday night, not Saturday night. And so I don't know what else you can point to other than it's the one date and that there's renewed emphasis. Maybe that maybe it compelled people a little bit of, there's a lot of race fans in this area, but for whatever reason, they haven't been coming out. Maybe it compelled them like, hey man, like we need to get out there. Cause if we don't get out there, we only got one date, this could go away at some point. I don't know the reason, but my wish list is that more places only had one date. Kansas is, it's got 2 dates, and the racing is good there most of the time. But you could make a compelling case that should only have one date, and the same place with some others. There, honestly, if you look at the schedule, there's probably only 5-6 tracks that deserve 2 dates. And other than that, like there's something to be said for this.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, the playoff picture, as we mentioned, with Dillon locking in a spot now, gets very intriguing. And in fact, more intriguing than I would have ever thought going into this race. Because we talked about last week, we're talking ourselves into there could be a new winner at Richmond, right? But we thought that after this, there would only be, one spot up in doubt, right? And so like, okay, let's say you get a new winner at Richmond. Okay, then the line moves down. So then it's either Bowman or, if there's a battle between Bowman and Buescher still points wise, or a new winner. Well, now Tyler Reddick was having a great night. He really was. He had one of the fastest cars.
Yeah.
He was running. He led. Let's see, 41 laps.
41 laps.
Yep. And obviously 23:11 in general was fast. Bubba Wallace led the most laps tonight, 123. We don't know what would have happened with Reddick, with how the strategy would have shaken out, but it looked like he was going to be en route for a top 3 run. Perhaps would have been a lot of points. Instead, Suarez is getting a little bit impatient there. I guess on newer tires, bumps Ty Dillon up the track out of the way, and kind of in a spot where, he had somebody on his outside. So he just sends him right up the track and takes out, or Ty Gibbs takes out, did I say Ty Dillon?
Yeah.
Did I? Oh,
I thought you did.
Ty Gibbs takes out Tyler Reddick.
Yeah.
And suddenly Tyler Reddick's car is not as good. He ends up finishing 34th. That's a lot of points lost. And so now Tyler Reddick is, he had a 100-point gap or whatever it was going into tonight. So now he's only 29 points ahead of Alex Bowman. Well, that's fine. But if there's a new winner next week and the cut line moves up, there's a pathway there where, okay, Bowman, let's say there's a big wreck, a big one, obviously at Daytona. Tyler Reddick's in it. Bowman's not. That's a 29-point swing right there. If Alex Bowman gets a top 10 and Reddick wrecks out, and there's a new winner, Tyler Reddick, inconceivably, all summer we thought it's not even a question unless there was going to be a new winners that bumped him out. Like there would be 16 winners in the playoffs. There wasn't even a question that he couldn't point his way in.
Yeah.
He is 7th in points right now. We're talking about he could be out next week if not that many things would have to happen. This is crazy. And obviously Bowman under pressure now on the bubble. Buescher and Priest went from an optimistic night to having to win now.
Yeah.
So Jordan, everything changed in a real hurry with the playoff picture.
It got really interesting really quick. And it's wild to think that a guy in Tyler Reddick, who, by the way, won the regular season championship a year ago and made the championship 4, is in this position a year later. Doesn't have a win this year. Hasn't led a ton of laps. Austin Dillon, I believe, has actually led more laps than Tyler Reddick this year. And it's just been a cruel summer for Reddick. And he's going into Daytona on the bubble.
Hey, can I stop you for a second?
Far away.
Are you saying Taylor Swift lyrics?
Am I?
Oh my gosh. Did somebody put you up to saying Taylor Swift stuff?
Maybe.
You are. Holy crap. Where did this come from?
I'm just doing my job, bud. Just working
Oh
my
my
job.
gosh. You're saying Taylor Swift lyrics in the show, or Taylor Swift songs.
Am I?
You totally are.
I'm just doing my job.
What is going on?
Just doing my. I'm trying to make a point about Tyler Reddick in his year. He's had a very cruel summer.
Some woman put you up to this. Some woman absolutely put you up to this. I cannot believe what's happening right now. I have tears in my eyes. Oh my gosh. You don't even know. You went from last year. You said, I've never heard a Taylor Swift song in my life last year. So now she comes out with a new album. Because earlier in the show, you were going Shake It Off. And you're very obviously about it. Now you're saying Cruel Summer.
Just working, just talking, man. Just doing my job.
You totally just got busted on something. You were trying to do for some woman Yes,
No.
absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely just
I did
busted
have
you
a
on
friend of
Taylor
mine
Swift.
though, really good friend of mine, Chris Long, sports anchor in Minnesota. He did that on his a few years ago. She had a concert in Minnesota, and he did like a full sports segment, like 2-3 minutes, and he worked in like 44 songs. It was incredible. So,
Are you trying to go viral with the?
no, I don't want to
Are
go
you
back.
trying to get a clip out of this
I'm
or
just
something?
trying to talk about Tyler Reddick and his playoff hopes.
How does "Cruel Summer" go? Since you're such an expert.
I have no idea. Is that a song of hers?
All right, we're back to this. All right, continue. I just
I don't know where I was at now.
all right. Sorry, you were saying it was a cruel summer for somebody. I don't know. Sorry,
Um,
I was just so thrown off by this.
I don't know what you're. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. It's just weird how they like 2311 had a weird night tonight. Like Bubba Wallace looked like he was. There was a point in this race where it's like this is his race to win or lose, and Reddick was sitting right there with him, and it's like, man, this is 2311 kind of peaking at the, starting to kind of come around a little bit. Bubba Wallace never won 2 races in a season before, and it's like, man, like this is kind of setting up for something here. And then it just went all haywire for them, and the bent wheel for Reddick, and then the wheel came off literally for Bubba Wallace in the pit stop, and it's just. That's a tough night. I mean, that's a tough night for an organization that at one point was literally running 1-2 for a good part of this night. And particularly with Reddick's case, like he needs, like, where's the good vibes? There hasn't been any good vibes with him at all. And it's just, you're just looking at this team and you're like, you're kind of getting shades of Martin Truex Jr. a few years ago where, he had a good year. He was 6th in points. And he still missed the playoffs because all of these other wild circumstances happened, including Austin Dillon, by the way, winning at Daytona, which knocked out Truex. And it feels like that's the case. It's going to be again for Tyler Reddick.
Tyler Reddick pushed Austin Dillon to that win.
That's right. Teammates.
By the way.
That's right. And could have maybe passed him too. And
right. It protected him.
Did not. It was like, nope, I am just going to be the perfect teammate. I can be here. And I think that was just after he had announced that he was
right. Because remember, we asked Richard Childress about, does this sort of redeem him or whatever? Because they were all mad at the time of this couldn't have been worse timing or whatever their statement was. Anyway, I mean, this I thought this was going to be a Preece going into all week. I just thought, man, Preece at Iowa, they looked so good, and they're going to tweak on their setup, and they're going to come back here. And the RFK cars are going to, the RFK cars are going to be fast. And Preece had his chances a little bit, but like they kind of had to go off strategy pretty early, and then once they started trying to make the extra pit stop, they just kind of lost position, and then I guess his brakes went away or something totally at some point.
Once he lost, he
finished 4 laps down. Like he's something mechanical happened to the van, but he was never going to be in the winning position at whatever point it was. It
was a weird strategy. And I hindsight's 2020, but it's like, it had a really fast car. And then in stage 1, they decided to gamble and not pit and to bag that extra set of tires. And in the moment, you're like, okay, I can see this. If there's tire wear, it's like you're going to pocket that set and maybe it's going to come in later. But again, you don't know. And then I thought about it, though, as it's happening. It's like that would have been conceivably if he had pitted. It's a delicate situation. But if you would have pitted, he would have probably kept the lead, or at least would have been, second or third or something like that, right? So he's going to pick up maybe 10 points, 10 points, somewhere in there. That cuts into the lead on Chris Buescher, who was a non-factor and wouldn't have gotten any stage points. And once they lost that track position, they never really got it back. They tried at various points. They had a gambit in stage 2 where they pitted. They used their extra set they got and kind of tried to gamble a little bit, and they jumped up there, but they could never hold it. And it just, once they lost that track position though overall, and they kind of started chasing it, they just never got it back. And then obviously whatever mechanical issue they had, did them no favors whatsoever.
Well, I mean, Preece had said several times, he said, we need to be elite, right? Like if we're going to do this, we've got to execute. We can't just be good and have great days or whatever. We've got to go out there and do what Austin Dillon did basically tonight, right?
Yeah.
So it didn't matter anyway. Like the points thing ended up not mattering because
not at the time.
that position, that playoff position is now gone. So, he was never going to catch Bowman in the points. He could have caught Buescher, but that position's now gone. So it's sort of proven irrelevant anyway. I guess don't listen to me because throughout the summer I kept going, I don't think there's going to be that many winners. I think there's going to be several spots on points. Right now, there's 14 winners. There's only 2 spots on points, and we think there's going to be a new winner at Daytona next week.
We think.
And by the way, we think there's going to be a new winner because as much as you would think, okay, well, a playoff driver, they want playoff points. They want some 5 more bonus points, right? Sure, I get that. But I think to win Daytona and throw some of the crazy blocks and make some of the crazy bold moves that you have to make, in a lot of cases, those are born out of desperation and absolute, I don't care what happens here. I'm going, I may go in the fence, but I'm going for the playoffs kind of thing. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way, but sometimes it does. And so that's why I think the guys who are like, this is my season.
Yeah.
They will be going all out in a sense, in a way more than like, hey, if you're 5th in points, if you're 6th in points, do you really have to make this move right here and possibly injure yourself before the playoffs start? Or can you just take a top 10?
I mean, there's also,
I'm not saying, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the other part of that too is you're like we just talked about with Tyler Reddick, a couple years ago with Austin Dillon, is some of these guys who are locked in are a little bit more willing to help their teammates who maybe need a win.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so, like, hey, I don't need a win here, but I'm going to play wingman. We have seen that happen many times in these races, and that's
very
part
true,
of it.
very true. Yeah, I mean, look at what now Dillon is immediate. There's no chance if Dillon and Kyle Busch are racing, late in the race, that Dillon is going to try to pass Kyle Busch next week. Dillon, being a company man and having some 100%. Ownership investment in RCR, is going to be solely focused on getting Kyle Busch into the playoffs because that is good for the company.
Mm-hmm.
That is what he cares about, right? He's not going to be like, well, I could really use these 5 more playoff bonus points here, or I want this win. He wants to put Kyle Busch in the playoffs, period. That is his biggest goal, more than
that's his end game. Yeah.
So you're absolutely right that is a huge factor. And manufacturers in the same way, right? Like you look at, if you're Chevy tonight, how pumped are you, right? Like you just got a Chevy into the playoffs and you knocked a Ford out, right? Like that's a thing, right? Like you're just like, absolutely. Because we know that these cars or these manufacturers, they are like, and these teams, they're trying to get the guys that aren't in the playoffs the best chance, the best stuff. And so, Daytona, that will absolutely happen as well. So there's several factors for sure. And, now it really becomes, I just think if you look at tonight, there was just so many missed chances though. We touched on it earlier in the show, but it was on Austin Dillon, the fastest car. I mean, I think he was the fastest of the ones that were in contention, the ones left, but was Denny going to be able to get up there? He sped on pit road.
Bubba had a tire fall off.
Bubba had a tire fall off. Reddick got wrecked.
Yeah.
Bell had two, he had a pit violation, commitment violation.
Mm-hmm.
That hurt. They also had a slow stop before that.
Logano was fast tonight, but had an issue in qualifying. Had to start in the back. I mean, it's just.
Well, and then Logano said that I told reporters at the end there that he had a tire leak in the last run. He said he couldn't get up there and race because he had, I believe he said he had a tire leak. I think so. Unless he was talking about what happened to him in qualifying.
Chase Elliott Chase Elliott looked like he had the goods. It was on the right side of the strategy, and then he gets caught up in a wreck. And like I said earlier, it's a woulda, shoulda, coulda night for a lot of guys who are going to look back on this race and be like, man, what in the heck? Like, this was a race we threw away, or the potential to get a win. That's it. And that's, again, goes back to what I said about Dillon. It's like, dude is flawless tonight. That pit crew was flawless tonight. They didn't make any mistakes in a night when everybody else was shooting their foot off.
Yeah, and I mean, continuing to go through it. I mean, you like Chase Briscoe. He had Martin Truex Jr.'s old team, and they've been targeting this one, and Briscoe's been running really well, and he was in front of Kyle Busch, and Kyle Busch. By the way, Kyle Busch, we talked about it's a great night for RCR. Kyle Busch had I don't know what was going on. I mean, he started off the race, and he was immediately like, "You guys got this thing wrong, and it feels broken, and it wants to spin out." And then he was like a wrecking ball. I mean, he was hitting people left and right. He took out both Chases because he took out Briscoe, and then the same wreck he took out Chase Elliott.
It's a 2-for-1 on Chases.
Yeah, and I mean that it was just, and then he had the moment there where he sped on pit road from sections 1 through 10, like every section or whatever. So,
not a clean night.
No, it was just like, dude. And his teammate wins, but I still feel like he'll have a chance next week. Wouldn't it be something if RCR got both cars into the playoffs after the year they've had? RCR gets both cars in, eliminating a Hendrick car or a 2311 car.
And an RFK, all RFK,
all RFK,
all
right?
RFK.
Yep. Yeah. And then, I mean, here's the reality of it now is like, you are going to have at least one Hendrick or Gibbs car miss because, I guess in theory, if Ty Gibbs won and Bowman passed Tyler Reddick in points, then you could get them both in. But, of the major teams, you're going to have either a 2311 Hendrick or Gibbs car miss at least one. RFK, you're looking at potential all three miss. Trackhouse, you're looking at one missing, I guess, because SVG made it and Chastain made it. RCR, could they get both in? I don't know.
Can we just really quick? How about the fact that Austin Dillon has 2 wins over the last 2 seasons, and Kyle Busch has 0?
Oh, I thought you were going to say that Austin Dillon has as many wins as Chase Elliott over the last 2 seasons.
Well, that is true as well, actually. But
because I saw that pointed out on social media. Because this week, because I defended Alan Gustafson, so suddenly now I have the Chase Elliott fans this week have started yelling at me for everything bad that happens to Chase Elliott, or every single thing that they think that Alan Gustafson did in the race. Elliott fans were tweeting at me like I was Alan Gustafson or something. Like they wanted like my scalp. These people are very, very angry.
Yeah,
like because I defended Alan Gustafson.
Yeah, Chase Elliott fans can be that way.
I'm just very angry.
Yeah, don't blame me. Not my fault. I'm just pointing out things.
I think that Alan Gustafson again tonight made the right call. I will say, because they saved the setup. They were all mad in the stage 1 because they fell back because they were saving their set of tires. Right? They did the strategy where they saved a set like Priest did. So then they had an extra set, and then they used them, and they were coming through the field with Hocevar and Jones. Hocevar made it through, but Elliott and Jones got caught in that wreck. Elliott almost made it through, but Kyle Busch tagged him. And they were going to finish top 10 in that stage. But they were like, oh, this is Alan's fault. He was back there with the strategy. I told you. It was like, oh my gosh, like, because Kyle Busch randomly wrecked Chase Elliott after he'd made it through the wreck, that was Alan Gustafson's fault for getting the strategy, what I thought was correct. But it's like, wow, okay, this is intense. I will say this, Jordan. We talked about the missed chances, but when you look at Team Penske finishing all 3 cars in the top 5, plus Josh Berry finishing 8th.
Good night.
This is very scary for the field because
Gateway,
this is exactly the kind of track. Yes.
Phoenix.
This is not what the Penske haters want to see. This is not what the Joey Logano fraud championship type people want to see.
Oh, you mean like you?
Because I didn't say it was a fraud championship.
Not a fraud per se, but you have questioned the format.
I'm just saying this is you Penske has been a non-factor for much of the summer, except for Blaney.
I was gonna say except for Blaney.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like, Cindric hadn't gotten what was it, a top single digit finish since he won
at Talladega.
Josh Berry hadn't gotten a top 10 since May. Logano hadn't gotten he had one finish better than ninth since he won at Texas in May, which was the fourth place at Nashville. And so, now all of a sudden it's like they get back to one of these tracks that is their bread and butter. And, oh, by the way, as you said, it just so happens now that New Hampshire, it's not just a July race. It's in the playoffs.
This year.
Gateway.
Playoffs.
Oh, remember that one? Playoffs. And then you have, of course, Martinsville and Phoenix. These similar style tracks that they're so good at. And by the way, you know who struggles there at those style tracks? Hendrick Motorsports. Hendrick really struggles, and they have not been able to get this. They've not been able to get it right. They talk about how New Hampshire is a struggle for them. Phoenix is a struggle for them. Remember, they put all this emphasis into Phoenix, and they get up there and they're like, oh crap, we're still not the whole off season. We're still not there. I do think the Toyota thing, them not getting the finishes, was a bit of the mirage for the sense of that we talked about, because we saw that Toyota had speed tonight.
Oh, they had a lot of speed.
They just all fell apart. Yeah,
they just all had issues.
Hendrick, if I'm a Hendrick fan, I'm particularly worried that Penske showed up where I was starting to, if Hendrick guy, I'm maybe starting to be like, okay, maybe Penske's not as big of a threat for the championship this year. I'm like, crap.
Cue the Jaws music, man. Because it's just
doing it.
It feels like it's that time of the year again. And say what you will, but this is what they do. We'll see. But when they made the schedule changes last year, I was talking to a competition director on the Chevy side, and they were looking at how the schedule was going to lay out, the playoff schedule was going to lay out for this year. And they're like, they pointed at the schedule and been like, Gateway. They're like, and they just like bit their lip and they swore. And then they're like, and then they swore again. They're like, New Hampshire. They're like, and they're like, is NASCAR just trying to give Penske this championship? And a little bit of tongue in cheek, but it was like, this is like their best tracks. And it's just, it's just a fortuitous break, but this is where they're good at. And they've got 4 of them in the playoffs. Literally one in each round. So we'll see. I know it's a cliche, man, but that 22 team, they don't shoot. That's a team that doesn't make mistakes at the key times. Like, they are the epitome of clutch, and good luck.
Well, keep that in mind for our picks, Jordan, because 1 week from tonight, Mother Nature permitting, after Daytona, we will be making our Final Four and championship picks on the spot.
Yeah.
So start thinking about that. But yes, for sure. That's man, those Penske cars, sneaky at the tracks that matter. They're very good. Let's see. What else do I have here? By the way, just a quick note, Bowman was very upset on his radio, obviously, that he wasn't getting the breaks from like SVG. Chevy teammate brake checked SVG after that. But also, like, he was saying that, Jesse Love, who was driving, an RCR car, passed him on newer tires, and then they felt like sort of parked it, I guess. But I went back and listened to that whole last sequence from when he passes Bowman, and the only thing they tell him is like he's kind of racing Jones and a couple other guys in a little bit of a gob of cars, and they tell him with 5 laps to go, they're like, they're basically like, don't wreck, please don't cause a caution, back it way down. So maybe Bowman felt like, oh, this guy passed me and then he stopped in front of me, kind of thing. But I think they were also telling Jesse Love, like, hey man, please don't spin out and cost Dillon the to
Yeah.
win. You know,
Let's not have a repeat of last year when
right.
you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was real quick on that note.
Yeah.
It was in the RCR pit, Austin Dillon's pit for the last 10 laps or so. And you walk down there and a lot of nervous faces, like nervous. Like, you know, usually at that time of point of the race, you know, there's their intent, you know, they're very focused, but this was different. This was like a nervous energy of a team that is like, man, we know that this is what can happen. And it was like, they were just looking at the laps and as soon as Austin Dillon took the white flag, I kid you not, it was like this weight was off of their shoulders of like, we're okay now, we can breathe. And it was like, it was like at that moment, they realized they basically had won the race, even though there's still a lap to go.
What would have happened if there had been a caution?
There probably would have been a few heart attacks in the 3 pits.
No, I'm just saying, like, what would have Austin Dillon have done to win that race?
Oh, I mean, I was convinced all night that I thought he was going to have to rough up Blaney or even Bowman to.
That's what I thought. I thought if Blaney, remember when we thought, okay, it's going to be Blaney versus Dillon here.
Yeah.
And Blaney was charging through the field on new tires. I thought to myself, I don't care if Blaney gets to Dillon.
Mm-hmm. You got
Dillon will. He's not going to let him pass cleanly.
No, you have to, and you have to do it then too, because you can't let Blaney get ahead of you and get away.
Right.
Like once you have to put a nose to him right away. I didn't think for a second. Now, do I think it was going to be as egregious as it was last year? No, like there's no chance. But he was going to put a bumper.
He's going to run him up the track.
He's going to run him up the track for sure.
Yeah.
And like he didn't have a choice.
I think if there had been a restart and it had been some sort of overtime situation, I think Dillon would have been like, I don't care. I'm going to do what I have to do. And RC would have come on the radio and said, Pop wants you to go get this done. I don't care. You have my support, kind of thing, whatever.
Yeah.
As they said, they celebrated last year anyway, and they're mad at NASCAR for the way NASCAR ruled on it. They don't have remorse for what they did, basically. So,
oh no, I made the joke to John Newby in the media center as the race was going on. I said, man, wouldn't it be something if like Joey Logano to get revenge, like just parked on the racetrack to bring out a caution with just a few laps left, yeah. Karma's a bad word kind of thing. But
are you doing Taylor Swift again?
No, I'm not doing Taylor Swift. I'm literally just made a point. I mean, it would have been, I literally made this
joke. You just said karma.
I don't, never mind. Anyway, it would have been hilarious though if Denny or Joey would have parked on the track and done something to cause a caution to just kind of sweet revenge 12 months later.
Jordan, is there anything else from this race? Because we have some other off-track news to talk about, so we can vote on the poll.
No, not really. No.
Okay.
No.
Well, Big Joe Wall notes that what?
Yeah, I just want to say. I mean, this is gonna be part of the poll, so I guess we're gonna segue into it. But this is one of the more entertaining races of the year, don't you think? Like this had a little bit of everything tonight: strategy, good racing, unpredictability, caution. I mean, this checked a lot of boxes.
Well, I'm not going to say how I feel about it in that specific terms to give you a hint of my poll guess, because we're tied 13-13 now with these 2 races remaining in the regular season, and the tiebreaker differential is 183.1 me to 183.9 you. So we're only 0.8 away on the tiebreaker differential. I need every 10th of a point I can get, same to you, unless one of us is going to get the next 2 in a row correct, so yeah, I'm just going to make a guess and then I'll explain my reasoning.
I don't know.
Okay, I got mine.
All right, I got it right. Hang on here.
Okay.
Hang on.
No rush. There's only several thousand people watching right now.
Dude, it's 1:40 in the morning.
In the morning.
It's okay.
Don't keep them waiting or anything.
Hey, build a suspense. Ready?
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready for it?
Yeah. Just
You get that?
now you're drawing it out. So blame
That's
yourself.
a Taylor Swift thing as well.
I have no idea what the hell you're talking about because I don't pay any
You have
attention.
no idea how much Taylor Swift I've been subjected to by having 2 daughters.
Have
You
never.
have no idea.
I
You
think I've
have
heard of
no
like 2 of her
idea
songs.
what it is like to listen to Kids Bop Taylor Swift. Not even just regular Taylor Swift, but Kids Bop Taylor Swift in the car right now. That's the thing. Oh, is there a Kids Bop version of this? And then I have to look on my Apple Music thing, find the Kids Bop version of Kids.
What is a Kids Bop?
Kids Bop is singing these pop songs or whatever, a zillion whatever songs with like cleaner, kid-friendly lyrics, because sometimes even Taylor Swift lyrics get a little racy. So we can't have that. Well, I mean, they listen to them anyway, but they like the Kids Bop version better. They ask for it. They're like, oh, I want to hear kids singing this.
So
yeah.
Kids are
So
singing.
I know far more of Taylor Swift's. I'll be driving in the car and my daughter will be like, I have a quiz. What year did this song come out from Taylor Swift? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, but I have to learn, or else she's like, no, you don't know that. You don't know that. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. This came out in 2014.
This sounds like hell.
Whatever,
this sounds like absolute hell.
Telling you,
like not as if I needed any more
Taylor Swift things on purpose into this thing. You're triggering me.
I'm not triggering. As if I needed any more reasons never to have children. You just gave me.
Well, that was already a given. All right, that's my guess. 82.3.
80.
Oh, I think are we guessing low here or no?
I think so. So I'm probably overthinking this. I think you win. I think this was a banger of a race. This was an absolute banger of a race. This was an absolute classic in every sense. I mean, call it what you want, but this was a fantastic race, regardless of what you think
it was a classic. But
how was it not a classic? Like, what did this race? What was this race missing tonight? Like a photo, like an amazing finish, but you had the second, third place driver tracking him down in the race. Like, this was pretty damn good race, especially by Richmond standards of late. Like, how many Richmond races lately have we walked away from this like, oh my God, like, what are we doing here? 2 years ago, like, we were like throwing up our hands of like, this is just awful. Like, this is really, really good. Like, even like, the first stage I think it ran caution free, right? But then in like stage 2, you had a little bit of chaos and not controversy, but like just guys making some aggressive moves. You had 3-4 wide racing at times. Like, this was good. Like, this was quintessential short track racing, especially at Richmond. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm underrating it, but I think people are going to vote.
I think you're overplaying it a bit. I mean, I think it was a very good race, especially by recent Richmond standards. I think it was a great race by that standard. But I still think it was sort of like a purist strategy type race. This wasn't the action track at Richmond of old. It's still not the short track classic. It was a great race because of the tire wear and the different strategies and the comers and goers and all that kind of stuff. And then you had a couple great moments where they were racing side by side. And so it made it very entertaining and all that. But I don't think it was like a classic. So, and here's the other thing, Jordan, there's 17 Richmond races in the poll. The poll dates back to 2016. There's 17 Richmond races in the poll. The number one Richmond race is 85%. Then the number 2 is 80%. And then it kind of drops off. So like there's only 7 of 17 Richmond races above even 70%. And only 9 out of 17 are above 60%. So there's a lot of clunkers. So I think by Richmond standards, again, this was very good. I don't know if it will if it gets above 85, that's the best Richmond race since 2016, which I don't know if it was that good, but I think low 80s could be possible. But low 80s would make it the second best Richmond race out of 18 in the poll. So
this is a good race. I'm sorry. I thought this was a fantastic race. This had pretty much everything I was looking for in a race.
Wow. Okay. Jordan, you were at your Bianchi bombing this week. Dale Jr. disagrees with the lead of what the story should be. I think the lead of the story is that Dover is slated to be getting the All-Star race next year. Dale Jr. thinks that the lead of that story should be North Wilkesboro is getting the points race next year. So tell us about what you know about this story. And let's talk through Dover, North Wilkesboro, and what else you're hearing about the schedule as by this time next week, it may very well be out.
Yeah, I think we can expect the schedule soon. I think next week is, that's the timeline. These things do change as we know, but that's kind of the timeline is expected next week. As for the Dover thing, certainly a big surprise. People look at this and go, wow, why is this happening? Well, we know Speedway Motorsports has poured a lot of money into North Wilkesboro to try to, revitalize it. They certainly have. And ever since that first All-Star race a few years ago, it's been, man, let's bring a points race there. The last points race at North Wilkesboro was 1996, by the way. And that's important to know because next year is the 30th anniversary of that. And so Speedway Motorsports, part of this, wanted to, in the 30th anniversary, bring Cup Series back to North Wilkesboro and have a points race there. And so this was kind of one of the reasons for this move. This was primarily from the conversation that I've had with people involved in this was a Speedway Motorsports kind of initiative of, hey, we would like to have a points race at North Wilkesboro and move the All-Star race elsewhere. To do that, though, what are you going to do? You're not going to bring the All-Star race to Atlanta. It's going to have to be a Speedway Motorsports track. So you start looking at some of their properties and stuff. Sonoma and Vegas are on the West Coast. They're out. Texas had it a few years ago. I think that's just not going to happen. And so you start looking at various options, and Dover became viable. One thing to keep in mind, and you have touched on this, Dover's race this year was in July. It was hot. The temperature isn't best there. You've got beach traffic and everything like that. If you were to move the All-Star race to Dover, you then put Dover in May because it will be a week before Memorial Day weekend, that traditional All-Star race slot. So you give Dover a good weekend in terms of weather and everything. And then you put North Wilkesboro in the summer and they get their points race. So that's kind of how this came about and why this is happening for 2026.
I mean, so we're talking as far as you know, or have you, I don't know if you have any information on this, but I mean, Dover doesn't have lights, and I was always told they can't have lights because of the Air Force Base. Mm-hmm. Would they bring in temporary lights and run a night race? Or are we talking about a daytime All-Star race?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, and I got to be really careful I say this. To the best of my knowledge, my understanding is it would be a daytime race, but that could change. I don't honestly know that, but I have had no indication that it would have heard nothing that it could be a night race or anything, because they would have to bring in temporary lights because that place is, as you said, they don't have it. And if I have it right, if it does run during the day, I think it's the first All-Star race to be ran during the day since 1991.
I just, I don't know. I kind of feel for the Dover fans because, they've been cut to one race. There's not a lot of racing up in that area anyway. Mm-hmm. And, their date's been moved around. They had to suffer through this super hot date this year. Mm-hmm. But I don't really know that anyone was clamoring for. It's sort of like from the department of, did anybody ask for this? If you're Dover fans, I mean, people were asking for a North Wilkesboro points race, which to me, I remember we talked about this after the All-Star race. It was like, where is all this coming from? Remember how the Fox broadcast was like pumping it up, and they kept like during the broadcast kept saying, "Oh, we'd like this, right?" And like asking people about it. It's like, who's advocating for this so much? It was like a big talking point, like, "Oh, this is definitely going to happen." And I don't know but nobody was going, "Oh, I'd really like to see the All-Star race move to Dover." So I just feel bad because Dover is already sort of like not the most exciting track. And I don't really, it's hard to picture like a great, unbelievable All-Star race there or something.
It's,
yeah, I mean, it's Dover's been sort of like, I mean, we just talked about it a few weeks ago when we were there. You know, it's sort of like the strategy and strength on strength, and you're seeing the best teams go at it, and you know, pit stops and stuff
Long
like that.
runs, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's not really the all-star race type of place, and I don't know. The all-star race was, you know, was better this year, and I don't know why mess with that. You know, why go, oh, you know what would be really great here, you know, a points race where they don't have to go as hard and they have longer runs. And I don't know. I didn't think that. I thought North Wilkesboro actually had a good thing going with the All-Star race. And I don't know that. I don't know. I just, I listen, I hear that move and I'm just like, I just don't really get it. I guess I'd like to hear more explanation maybe, but
I don't
jump out off of me is like,
yeah,
wow.
I don't disagree with you. I like North Wilkesboro as a fit for the All-Star race. It just felt right. But if you do want to bring a points race there, and I get it, 30 years, you know, and that, you know, maybe, you know, capitalize on that, and, you know, okay, fine. You want to have a points race there, but it's like, okay, what do you do with it? You're so limited on where you can move that race if you're going to keep it within the Speedway Motorsports family. And that's the challenge. You know, one, you know, is, I don't know, you're in a really tough spot where you can move. Would Nashville have intrigued you better
For an all-star race?
Yeah, for 1 year.
Actually, yeah, yeah. Because here's the thing, Nashville, the racing aside, if you say all-star Nashville, you think night race, country music stuff, Broadway. There's like some flash.
You can make,
you know, like the market.
Sure. Yeah.
Dover, a day race in May, just feels like, hey, we don't really have anywhere to put this, so we're just gonna like dump this on you guys.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I just feel, again, I just feel like Dover has not had like a lot of date equity lately. They're just kind of being like, well, we don't really know what to do with this place. So, and they had a good crowd a couple years ago. Like they had a really good crowd.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anything else schedule wise that you're hearing that you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things. There's a report out there that Iowa may or may not be happening, and that there have been conversations among NASCAR about not returning. I'm going to say this unequivocally. Iowa will have a Cup Series date next year, 100%. I promise you that. That is on the Cup Series schedule.
So you're reporting that Iowa is on the schedule.
I am reporting that Iowa Speedway has, again, a Cup Series date in 2026. NASCAR will be returning. And I am also reporting that there was never any conversations among NASCAR to say, hey, do we do this or not? There had been some chatter and some rumors about maybe like a rotation of some tracks with Iowa and a couple other tracks. But that was never the case. NASCAR never, ever had that conversation, because if you're going to talk about Iowa coming off of the schedule, it's the same thing we always say, Jeff. What are you putting on the schedule? Because you have to have 38 dates. And so you can't have all of these races fall off without putting stuff back on. And you're not adding a second date at Michigan. You're not adding a second date at Richmond. Joliet's getting a date already. You're running out of options. And so, so that was always going to be the case. Always going back there. Also, there's some conversations about whether Mexico City is happening or not happening next year. I can report to you 100%. Mexico City is off the schedule. The Athletic reported that a few weeks ago. That is also not happening as well.
Gotcha. Okay. You also had a story out where you've confirmed the new Xfinity Series sponsor is going to be O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Yes.
We knew that Xfinity, this was the last year, so not a surprise they're leaving, but the surprise is that O'Reilly Auto Parts will be the second tier series. I guess it would be, we don't call it the O'Reilly series, right? It would be like the O'Reilly Auto Parts series.
That is my understanding. Yes. We're going to have to figure out, is it the no apps? Is that what we're referring to it as? No apps?
It's either the OPS, or the NOPES, right? Because, you know, in the NASCAR abbreviation, they always put, like on the schedule stuff, they'll put like NCS or NXS. So there's always an N. So if you looked at the NASCAR thing, it would be NOAPS. So there'd be NOPES.
No apps. Yeah, I don't know.
I was thinking Opes.
I was been talking to people about this. I'm like, what are we calling this? Like, what is the abbreviation? Like,
yeah, because you can't say
it doesn't roll off the tongue.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm one of the O'Reilly Auto Parts drivers, or like Xfinity actually. Because with Truck Series, the Craftsman Truck Series, you can say I'm a Truck Series driver. I drive in the trucks. Or Xfinity, they have the best thing going as far as a sponsor name, because Cup was always Cup, even though it was
it's timeless.
Winston Cup, Sprint Cup, whatever. It's I'm a Cup driver. This is Cup. Xfinity, people are, Xfinity. I'm an Xfinity driver. Did you go to the Xfinity race?
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be weird to be like, oh yeah, did you go to the O'Reilly Auto Parts race?
Did you go to the Nopes race?
The Opes.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, it'll naturally, organically happen, but people just need something shorter to say. So
yeah, I just want to make a couple points on this really quick. It feels like the Xfinity series has really kind of been I don't want to say rejuvenated, because but it just feels like it's got a little bit more energy this year, and I think a large part of that is because of the CW. If you look at the television ratings for those races, they have done extremely well on CW. They, often over 1 million viewers. People
almost always every single week they get at least 1 million.
I think only one has fallen below that. Don't hold me to that, but I think it's only one. Really strong ratings. And not only does it have strong ratings, people tuning in, but CW's done a really good job of promoting the series other ways and really kind of pushing that and making it a property, almost where in some degree, like the Xfinity series has kind of come out of the Cup Series shadow a little bit, and has a little bit more identity. And I say all this because it hasn't gone unnoticed. And so as I was told by people who were involved in these conversations, as NASCAR took this series to the market and tried to find a new entitlement sponsor, there was a lot of companies excited, like, hey, this seems like a brand that is, they've getting coverage, you get people watching. And if you look at the TV ratings to some degree, like, I mean, there hasn't been a huge jump between Cup Series and Xfinity. You know what I mean? Like, and so there's a little bit more energy. And I was talking to some team owners in the garage on the Xfinity Series side, and they're like, we love it. The CW has been really good to us. There's energy. They've got sponsors that are happy to be this. And so it's just kind of this culmination of things. And so it'll be interesting to see what the future of this series is, but it certainly seems like it's trending upwards.
All right. Well, Jordan and I will be back together next week in person for Daytona, where we will go with William Byron already having locked up the regular season title. Jordan, he's up by 68 points due to Chase Elliott's misfortune in tonight's race, and he only had to be up by 62 because it used to be 61 to clinch, but now with the fastest lap point, you could get 61 in a race, and you can't account for somebody starting, to actually give somebody the title or lock it up. So he cleared that bar, so he cannot lose the regular season title next week. So he will get the 15 playoff bonus points, putting him in pretty good position to make a run. And we will talk, of course, more about that and the playoff chances in our post-Daytona episode. We'll give our thoughts on the field. And then, Jordan, we are planning to have another session. You guys gave a great reception for it last year, and then in the preseason as well, where we had all the drivers swing through and chat with us. And so we're planning to do that again for Media Day if all goes well. So check us out on the Wednesday before Darlington. Programming note now. So Wednesday after Daytona, not this Wednesday coming up, the next Wednesday, we will be live. We're planning to live stream it on YouTube. And then, of course, there'll be a way for you to listen as well on the podcast version. But we'll be having all 16 playoff drivers stop by, and we'll be chatting with them about the upcoming playoffs. So we'll be having plenty of playoff talk. And after we find out who is in the field officially next Saturday night, again, Mother Nature permitting, you never want to say Saturday is, any date is definitely a go in Florida in the summer, but hopefully that race will get in as scheduled. So
It'll be fun. Look forward to it. Daytona's always a good time. One of my favorite races of the year. I love this.
And now in the last spot again where it belongs.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, yeah, it's just I love it. It's just it's one of those moves when it happened, you're like, oh man, really? And now you're like, don't ever touch this. This should be the regular season finale every year.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for staying up late with us. For those who watched on the live stream, now 2 a.m. on the East Coast. So thanks as always for listening, and we will talk to you next time on the Teardown. See you later, everybody.